Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. We're going to be taking a look at the Buffalo Sabres as Kevyn Adams, the new general manager up there in Buffalo, has made a couple moves this offseason, and the future may be looking bright for the Buffalo Sabres. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Let's take a look at the Buffalo Sabres. Alright, as usual, before we get too far into the video, I want to give a quick plug to our Instagram and Twitter handles at goalline_hockey. Links will be in the description down below as well as throughout this video. And make sure to check out our Patreon, which will be posting a weekly podcast looking at all things around the NHL and things hockey in general. We just posted our first video this past Thursday, so if you want a quick teaser as to what we'll be having on our Patreon, make sure to check out that video. I do have the podcast on YouTube. I'll probably be posting the second podcast as well on there. If you want to support the channel, much appreciated at our Patreon. The links will be down below. All right, so with that out of the way, let's take a look at the Buffalo Sabres. Now, the Buffalo Sabres have had a pretty interesting offseason. They fired their general manager. There was talk that they might trade Jack Eichel. There was talk that they may trade Ristolainen, Dahlin, whatever guy you want to throw out there. There were rumors about everybody on the Sabres potentially being on the trade block. And Kevyn Adams has come into Buffalo, and he had a top 10 draft pick. He had a second-round pick, and he had the ability to make some trades as well as make a free agent signing. He was able to do a little bit of all three. We'll be looking at that here. So, 2020 NHL Draft to start things off for Kevyn Adams. With the first-round pick, they go in a direction that they probably needed to go in. And I think a lot of people were maybe expecting Buffalo to go with a defenseman at that spot, but they did not. They go with the young American. Oh, excuse me, he's not American. Young Canadian, Jack Quinn. He's a right shot player. He's 19 years old, 6 foot, 176 pounds. He's the 8th overall pick in this draft for the Buffalo Sabres. Last season in the OHL, he put up 89 points in 62 games in the OHL with the Ottawa 67s, a plus 48. Now remember, the Ottawa 67s also had that guy, Marco Rossi, who went 9th overall to the Minnesota Wild. So it seems fitting that he was playing on one of the better lines in the OHL, which obviously helps inflate his stats. But still, 89 points is quite impressive, and 52 goals. Not too bad for Jack Quinn. The other guy that they drafted in the second round, John Jason Peterka. John Jason Peterka was the second round pick, and he was another player that Buffalo needed, I guess, which was another forward. It's interesting because Buffalo is one of those teams you really wouldn't expect them to be going for a forward necessarily, and to be taking two was a little bit surprising, but I guess that's the direction that Kevyn Adams wants to go with this team. John Peterka, this guy, 34th overall in the second round here in the 2020 NHL Draft. In Munich of the DEL in 2019 and 2020 in his draft year, 11 points in 42 games, not too bad. And this season, he's already got 6 points in 7 games in Austria with Salzburg of EC. In the World Juniors back in 2020, he had 6 points in his 7 games, and with Germany of the under-20 team. There's another guy that Buffalo sees as a decent prospect. He's 5'11", 192 pounds, 18 years old. The Buffalo Sabres addressing some depth issues on the forward side of things. This was a good move by Kevyn Adams, but a little bit surprising. I thought they would be going with defensemen, at least with one of those draft picks. They go with a forward with both. Now, so we talked about the draft. Now we talk about the trades. Would Kevyn, it's easy to draft, right? I mean, even that isn't easy. It's easy sitting here a couple weeks from the draft to say, oh, those are good picks. But you got to also make trades because those aren't just given to you. You got to find a way to make deals work. And he called up the phone and talked to Bill Guerin, the Minnesota Wild general manager, and asked about the availability of Eric Staal. and the Buffalo Sabres acquire Eric Staal from the Minnesota Wild in exchange for forward Marcus Johansson. Now, this is an interesting trade. I think most people on the surface would say this is an easy win for the Buffalo Sabres, isn't it? And I would agree with you. I think out of these two players, Eric Staal is the better player. Eric Staal is one of those guys. Let's take a look at his contract. His cap hit is at $3.25 right now. He's on the final year of that deal. Modified. Why can't I talk? Modified no trade clause. He's 36 years old. This is probably his last season, I would think, in the NHL. Marcus Johansson, $4.5 million on the cap hit, so Buffalo saves on the cap hit a little bit, and he's 6 years younger. He's only 30 years old, and he's on the final year of his deal of a modified, there we go, no trade clause as well. So this works out for both teams. The Buffalo Sabres save on a little bit on the cap space. The Minnesota Wild, who are at the cap floor, gain a little bit of cap space, or actually, take a little bit more on the salary, which is actually good for the Wild. The Sabres save a little bit, and you could argue that Eric Staal is the better player, but because of his age and the fact that he probably won't re-sign with Buffalo, I think this is a win for Marcus Johansson and the Minnesota Wild. But it's also a win for the Buffalo Sabres, who win now, because Eric Staal is a bridge center for this team, because once Dylan Cousins, Casey Middlestat, those guys continue to develop, you're not going to need Eric Staal after this season. But they want to win now because Jack Eichel is in his prime. Taylor Hall comes into the fold, which we'll talk about in a second. So Eric Staal is a win now decision by Kevyn Adams, and I think that's a good decision, and it will pay off for them for this season and this season alone. I like that trade by Kevyn Adams. And then they signed Taylor Hall to a 1-year, $8 million contract. We have talked about Taylor Hall and this signing plenty of times already on the channel. If you want to take a look at those videos, I've gone in depth about Taylor Hall signing with the Buffalo Sabres. Quick and short, though, I think it's a good move by the Buffalo Sabres. It's a really low risk. It's a 1-year deal. If things work out and he has good chemistry with Jack Eichel and Victor Olofsson, you keep him. And worst case, if he doesn't work out, there's no pressure. He leaves next season. You didn't trade anything for him. No harm, no foul. And the fact that the Taylor Hall situation is he's been able to create his own reality show on the NHL YouTube channel. Pretty cool there for Taylor Hall. So guys, Buffalo Sabres fans in particular, but fans around the NHL, let me know what you think of the Buffalo Sabres going into next season. I like what they have on defense. I like what they have up front. But we're still forgetting about the issue with their goaltending. I think their goaltending is a hindrance. If Linus Ullmark is not the real deal and that starting goaltender, I think he has that potential. I think he will be that for the Sabres this year. But that is, if you have any concerns about the Sabres this year, that should be your number one thing. I think they have some issues with goaltending. And is Carter Hutton a reliable backup option in the event that something happens to Linus Ullmark? So guys, let me know your opinions on that in the comment section down below. And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, who wants the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and let's go Sabres.